Well, Kazangpla, and welcome to Bhutan This Week, our weekly news magazine program. First, the top stories this week. His Majesty the King graces opening of 4th session of the 3rd Parliament. Prime Ministers of Bhutan and India launch second phase of Rupee card. And Thimphu City Football Club wins Bhutan Premier League 2020 for second time. Now the story in details. His Majesty the King graced the opening ceremony of the 4th session of the 3rd Parliament on Thursday. The Speaker of the National Assembly expressed gratitude to His Majesty the King in combating the COVID-19 pandemic.
The Speaker of the National Assembly on behalf of the parliamentarians said, under the dynamic leadership of His Majesty the King, not a single death has been reported due to COVID-19. The Speaker also expressed gratitude to Her Majesty the Gelson, His Majesty the 4th Duke Gelpo, His Holiness the Jekempo, the government and all volunteers involved in fighting the pandemic.
투체베지데 당기 약합나 로공고비기 가자나 geldengi namdula sobi gyukhowigi kidozi sabardo nemletende jimphumitsulu geboy gisugi kidoki syure truthidera nambego nemgi michoda zirocho rimi tongbaje namigi zijadisulu rangi jawachin zamling yakhab yongi utipsulu petun zija zamchibe
The Parliament will end on 14th December. Tshering, BBS News.
Renew recorded 36% increase in gender-based violence this year, marking the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women on Wednesday. Her Majesty the Queen Mother Sangye Choden Wangchuk in her virtual national address said gender-based violence remains one of the most widespread violations of human rights across the world.
Her Majesty the Queen Mother Sangye Choden Wangchuk's virtual address was launched today.
Our volunteer networks in several dzongkhaks have flagged increasing reports of domestic and sexual violence during the COVID-19 lockdown period. This has heightened the demand for emergency shelters more so than before, causing a strain to our social resources. Many more women and girls continue to suffer in silence and remain isolated from the people and resources that can best help them.
Renew recorded more than 700 cases of gender-based violence this year so far. Last year, Renew recorded over 500 cases. The perpetrators are someone close to them, someone economically and physically more powerful and stronger. Women, girls and children are most vulnerable.
This lockdown means you are spending, your 24 hours within the confined walls of your home. The reasons could be manifold, and it may be due to frustrations, poverty. Many have lost their jobs, and there's a lot of stress.
The day was marked in all the districts by community-based support system of Renew to prevent violence and help the victims. Kiletim for BBS News.
The joint conservation efforts of the Royal Manas National Park and the Manas Tiger Reserve in India have been awarded the Tiger Conservation Excellence Award for doubling the tiger population. The awards were presented by the World Wildlife Fund. The Pilibhit Tiger Reserve in India was also awarded the inaugural T×2 award. The awards celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the all 13 tiger range countries who have committed to double the global population of wild tigers by 2022, a goal known as T×2.
A rare and successful transboundary partnership between the two sides in Bhutan and India, known as the Transboundary Manas Conservation Area, was recognized with the Tiger Conservation Excellence Award. The tiger population increased from 12 in 2008 to 26 in 2018 in the Royal Manas National Park. In the Manas Tiger Reserve, tiger population rose from 9 in 2010 to 25 in 2018. The T×2 award was presented to Pilibhit Tiger Reserve in India for doubling the population of wild tigers since 2010. The tiger population of Pilibhit Tiger Reserve stands at 65 as of 2018. The head for Bhutan Tiger Center said that winning the award is an encouragement for Bhutan to continue working together with our communities and counterparts in India.
This conservation award for Bhutan means a lot. This is the recognition of the conservation effort that our country has made in the international arena. Bhutan plays a very important role, not only in the region but outside the world, as an example for conservation success.
Chief Forestry Officer of Royal Manas National Park expressed gratitude to all the donors, development partners, communities and frontline rangers for their excellent service.
It signifies that we have a visionary conservation leadership that has gone a long way, because this is more of recognition of the past achievements. So without the far-sighted leadership of our monarchs and the past governments, I think this would not have been possible.
Conservation Director of WWF Bhutan congratulated the Royal Manas National Park and the Department of Forests and Park Services for winning the award.
This is a recognition for the government of Bhutan for their commitment, which helped improve the management effectiveness of the park at an international level. And last year, Manas also was accredited international accreditation for CATS standard. That standard tells you, how park is managed in terms of tiger conservation. So I think Manas deserves this award.
A conservation tool that sets standards to manage target species such as tigers is being implemented across all 3 winning sites. The awards, which include a financial grant to assist ongoing conservation, were presented virtually. For Sangye Doji, this is Pasang Doji for BBS News.
Bhutan has 78 to 86% of land suitable for tiger conservation and protection. And this is according to a recently published research by wildlife biologist Phunsutinle. But currently, majority of the suitable tiger habitat remains unprotected. The research recommends there is a need to expand tiger conservation efforts beyond the protected areas, readjust or expand the protected area boundaries and biological corridors, and step up anti-poaching patrols to ensure conservation and protection of tigers in the country.
From the many recommendations, the study proposed expanding boundaries of Phipsu and Jomotsanka wildlife sanctuaries to cover more tiger habitats. A new corridor is also essential to connect Bumdiling Wildlife Sanctuary with Sakteng Wildlife Sanctuary, as tigers reappeared in Bumdiling Wildlife Sanctuary after an absence of 12 years. With an estimated tiger population of 103, Bhutan is acknowledged as a global tiger hotspot. But given the lack of enough tiger habitat, additional habitat protection and expansion is needed to ensure the long-term survival of this iconic species. On the contrary, the head of Bhutan Tiger Center says it is not really necessary to expand the protected areas to conserve tigers.
It is not necessary that tiger has to be in the protected areas. In fact, from our 2014 and 15 nationwide tiger survey, we found out that there are as many tigers as in areas outside of protected area. So tigers can do well. Tigers are a very adaptive and resilient species. They can survive, they can do well as long as we remove poaching and poisoning and other threats.
Global tiger population plummeted to less than 3,600 a decade ago from habitat loss, intense poaching and inadequate conservation efforts. A 2018 study carried out by a research team from the Wangchuk Institute for Conservation and Environmental Research revealed that areas with tigers experienced significantly fewer incidences of crop and livestock losses compared to those without tigers. Sunampem for BBS News.
The Prime Ministers of Bhutan and India virtually launched the second phase of RuPay card on 20th November. Bhutan National Bank will be the bank issuing RuPay cards to Bhutanese. Cardholders can withdraw Indian rupees from ATMs as well as make payments at points of sales in India.
The RuPay network provides safe and convenient banking and helps realize cost-effective and cashless transactions.
I'm happy to note that with these arrangements, it will benefit the peoples of our two countries. Together, we are leveraging digital technologies to enhance financial services in our region.
Nearly 11,000 successful RuPay transactions were made in Bhutan since its launch last year.
RuPay cards issued by Bhutan National Bank will provide cardholders access to more than 100,000 ATMs and over 2 million point of sale terminals in India. I have no doubt that this will immensely benefit Bhutanese nationals visiting India, be it for education, medical treatment, pilgrimage or tourism.
The first phase of RuPay card was launched during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Bhutan last year. In the first phase, Indian banks provided RuPay cards to Indian travelers and citizens, allowing them to withdraw and make payments in Bhutan. Sangishisom for BBS News.
This winter, schools, especially in colder regions, will have more to do than just getting the missed syllabuses covered. They will have to create and provide an environment that is conducive to learning. And this could be a challenge when research findings on thermal performance of school buildings in cold climate of Bhutan show that the buildings are far from energy efficient.
After remaining closed since March this year due to the COVID-19 situation, schools in the country resumed classes for grades 9 to 12 from September. And having a lot to cover, the teaching instructions will continue till next year. This means, unlike in the past, students will have to brave through a cold winter. Currently, more than 100 out of 575 schools in Bhutan are located in the colder region. According to the research on thermal performance of school buildings conducted in 2019, these schools do not have adequate heating system either in the classrooms or in the hostels.
Alu gamchibe ro de jandi be de yebachin de lockdown al da tapma tu thongla de gamse ochin kho de ngachibe de pese chiron de mohla de jam dalu la ganya be mechbe de chimne be de pese chiron la be mechbe de dan taw be de ngachi alu chwe ne bra yila nam semi shu be jam daw ji ochin de neji de chilibin si de thopni de nan ni le de ngachi de alu chu de sam jam be de kho khorangi de jongla chwe le shimbe be mechula.
Studies indicated a direct correlation between thermal comfort and the workers' output. This also applies to teaching and learning activities. As per the Education Ministry, the needs of the students this winter are taken into account. For example, at Ura Central School, which is the coldest of all schools in Bumtang, classrooms are fitted with Bukhari heaters. Similarly, Jakar High Secondary School received 10 new geysers. The school also has a solar hot water plant, but during cloudy days, the facility remains mostly dysfunctional.
Paruzum chibiachin phala ngachila dashu songdagi mapa kalup sam nandigibe shirigopin chugibe the heating system se lopkhanali ba data ni ge ko new chadigbe khacha nga lo pai ha thokhe ta no sishunila te an zumbe gasa zumchi be wachin na meseme la ya lu nga che lobim gupa chupa chukchi chuni paila ani bendigi ko chudi ati tesa lo kenyi nga chi sherik ya sherik tang da shu zong de nga chi lo da devil pidi de nga chi nale da approve se nga chi la da de chi dup se de nebe tang dibe de ko ya nam sami jansale de maro jishong lu alu se ki di sishunila.
Besides having a heating system, students will also be allowed to wear jackets and hand gloves inside the classrooms. The experts also recommend sealing the gaps between the building elements is the simplest and cheapest intervention. By doing so, the temperature inside the building could be warmer by an average of 2 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, the researchers pointed out that excessive infiltration or air leakage is a serious problem with the modern Bhutanese buildings. It is responsible for more than 30% of the heat loss in a cold climate. Samdrup, PBS News.
With several activities going online this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the 2 mobile network operators in the country recorded a drastic increase in data consumption. According to Bhutan Telecom and Tshering, data consumption this year increased by almost double of last year.
While increase in data consumption and decline in voice is a global trend in the telecom industry, the 2 operators in the country recorded abnormally high data consumption this year. According to officials of Tshering, data consumption this year till October was 13,000 terabytes. Last year, it was less than 7,000 terabytes. The general manager of Tshering said this is the highest increase in terms of volume of data consumption. Officials of Bhutan Telecom shared that their revenue has increased compared to the past years, mainly due to the increase in the volume of data consumption. Statistics with the Bhutan Telecom show that daily data consumption this year is about 130 to 150 terabytes. Last year, it was about 60 to 70 terabytes in a day. Besides expansion in network and revised rates, they shared online education and work-from-home initiatives, among others, as a result of the pandemic led to the huge surge in data consumption. Kilidem for BBS News.
The Guides Association of Bhutan is proposing that a university degree should be the basic requirement for anyone aspiring to be a tour guide. The association says doing so will help Bhutan keep her status as a high-end destination among international tourists. The association plans to make an official proposal to the government within this year.
There are currently no tourists at all in the country, but that hasn't left tour guides without work. Although some are laid off, there are others working on a number of projects. This group of guides is working on making a hiking trail between Chubachu and the base of Pajading in Tempa. And this isn't the only task they are working on during the pandemic situation. Garab Doji, the founder of Guides Association of Bhutan, is working on other initiatives as well. He has worked as a professional tour guide since the 1990s. From his years of experience in the field, he feels that there is a need to improve the standards of tour guides in the country. And by that, he means qualification and training duration to obtain a tour guide license. The current requirement is a high school graduate who takes up a 3-month-long training at any tour guides training institution.
Who can afford Bhutan are mostly, 58 plus. So when you have those kind of a tourists who are seasoned travelers, they have traveled all over the world, and then to send a mediocre guide, with less, qualification, and then, immature, young, now, young, and when you have, this kind of actual guide with less training, it does not actually, portray, what we are selling.
He added that majority of the tourists he interacted with in the past expect that they be accompanied by a guide who is a good storyteller and is well educated about the places they go to. Some tour guides said alongside qualification, good attitude to work and being well informed is equally important.
When you see tourism, we are dealing with lots of nationalities all over the world, and there are people who are highly educated. And to be with them means that we have to be really like with the knowledgeable. So to speak to them and to talk about our own country and to basically to be answerable to their questions, you really need to be like learned. So in that case, for me, I'm a graduate student from Sydney University, so I don't have much problem.
Before, you know, those fresh graduate or fresh tour guide, I think, you know, they need to give some training, and before I think they should be assisted by some senior guide, you know, so that to explore, to get experience, they should go with a senior guide, someone who has a more experience, you know, to guide them, to lead them, you know.
Qualification, I think qualification is also must.
Most are talking about qualifications, which I think is also a must. But what is more important is attitude towards work. So even if we are not highly qualified, it would help if we get some sort of training. The younger tour guides I meet on the field seem to be having some sort of difficulties. They are nervous and get complaints from their guests. The complaints go directly to the agents, and then it is the guide who loses the opportunity.
GAP says it has been raising this issue for the last 10 years. The association has also discussed it with the members of the Tourism Committee of the Parliament earlier this year.
Officers from TCB as well Labour also feels that we need to raise the standard. It's now time to raise it, and definitely we at the GAPS and the Guide Association of Bhutan, we feel that it is an opportune moment for us to have a new starting actually. The guide is there, in the entire trip the tourist takes.
Today there are around 4,600 licensed tour guides in the country, of which around 1,500 are actively working in the field. Pup KM for BBS News.
After teaching the women of Merag the art of weaving yatta, Meragok in Tshering could now become yatta producing hub like Bumta. The women in Merag see the skill of weaving yatta as an alternate source of income to realize self-reliance.
These are some of the yatta pieces woven by women at the training. They had been weaving their traditional clothes on a different loom so far. The skills and tools are new to them, but their interest in learning the skills surpasses the difficulty. 16 women at the training had first learned to weave plain yatta and then moved to make patterns.
Being a woman, it will benefit a lot. I have not weaved before and even seen, so when I got chance, I acquired skill from the instructor, and hereafter I'm going to share yatta weaving skills to other women.
With sheep rearing culture reviving in the village, the women feel yatta business could bring income to the family. The wool processing machine installed recently will make it rather easier for them to make yarn.
Since we are located in high altitude, we cannot grow crops and we don't have other sources of income. I think that we should form a group and weave yatta to earn income.
In a hope to make women in the village economically independent, a Tempa-based private firm, Yarn and Yatta, organized the training for a month.
As per their request for a yatta instructor, our proprietor had sent me here. They have almost learned the art. After this, we are going to learn another pattern. They all are interested and want to learn to weave like women in Bhutan.
The Wangchuk livestock sector provided weaving materials. The training ended this week, but this is just the beginning. For Sudam Darge in Tshering, Sengichisom for BBS News.
Tempa City Football Club lifted the Bhutan Premier League 2020 trophy as they were officially crowned the champions of the league in Punakha. However, their unbeaten streak came to an end as they lost 3-2 to Ugen Academy in the final match of the league. 8 teams from Thimphu, Paro, Punakha and Wonderfodrang took part in the competition this time.
Despite claiming the Bhutan Premier League 2020 title a week ago, Thimphu City FC still had to face Ugin Academy FC in their last match of the league campaign in Punakha. For Thimphu City FC, the top priority was not to lose the game and maintain their 100% unbeaten record. However, they were put to test early as Ugin Academy FC scored in the first 15 minutes. Still, Thimphu City FC managed to equalize before the end of the first half. The second half again saw the host team leading with another goal of the game in the 54th minute. Bringing in a few fresh legs, Thimphu City FC was again successful in equalizing the scoreline. However, in vain, Ugin Academy FC scored the winning goal of the game in the dying minutes, ending Thimphu City FC's unbeaten record. But the Thimphu City FC had nothing to worry about as they were already the champions of the league, finishing the season with 37 points in 14 matches.
I'd like to thank the management and all my players for believing in me. They have always been very patient and listened to me every time. Whether it's 6 in the morning or late night training, every one of them cooperated very well. This is why I believe we are the champions this year, and I'm very proud of everyone.
Meanwhile, Ugin Academy FC and Paro FC came second and third respectively. Being the champion of Bhutan Premier League, Thimphu City FC will now represent Bhutan in the upcoming AFC Cup to be played next year. This is Pasan Doji for BBS News.
And this brings us to the end of this week's edition of a News Magazine program. Until next time, I'm Cheku, signing off only for now.